When I was 17, I got my first job. I had been taken advantage of by my boss. It got really bad. He threatened if I had told anybody, he would take my life, he'd take everyone's life. My parents ended up finding out. We pressed charges. We went and stayed at a different family member's house because I was so afraid he would show up and take all of our lives. But they were just if you keep this baby, they didn't want to support that. I had the pressure of getting an abortion. This isn't gonna look good. You need to do this because there's just no way you're gonna be able to survive.
We've never had an opportunity to sit and think through all of those traumatic experiences because you become a mom and it's off to the races. You have to put all of those emotions and everything that you experienced in a box, in a closet, and hopefully one day we can get back to it and process it, but you're in mama mode.
And I felt like I was in survival mode.
Life doesn't always go according to plan, and sometimes the challenges we face shape us in ways we never expected. Our next guest grew up moving between homes, navigating family changes, and overcoming sexual trauma, all while learning to rely on her own strength. As a college student, she discovered she was pregnant, a shock that came with a long-distance challenge, financial struggles, and the weight of judgment. Yet through it all, her faith, determination, and the support of loved ones carried her forward. Her story is a powerful reminder that even in unexpected circumstances, it's possible to create a life filled with hope, purpose, and family. If you believe in the power of sharing stories that matter, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It's a free and easy way to make a difference. And if you'd like to help spread the message so that no student mom faces an unplanned pregnancy alone, consider becoming a financial supporter by clicking the link in our show notes and leaving a tax-deductible donation. Without further ado, let's welcome Katie to Unplanned and Untold. Well, Katie, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. I'm super excited for our listeners to get a deep dive into your story as there's so many ups and downs, ebbs and flows. So let's dive on in and tell our listeners a little bit about how you grew up and what life was like before college.
My parents were divorced when I was 2, so I had a lot of family, which was actually really fun. I loved it. I have, how many siblings do I have? I have 4 siblings. I thought having, 4 different Christmases and all that stuff was the coolest thing ever. So, my parents made a divorce definitely lighter.
Right.
And so I pretty much grew up in a small town. I had, it was the one high school, one middle school, you graduated with people you went to kindergarten with. Okay. And I played a lot of sports. It was fun. I had a pretty good childhood and stuff. I went and played volleyball in college the first year. And then, after that, things kind of happened and I went a different way.
So I know something traumatic happened to you in high school. Do you feel comfortable sharing with our listeners? Because after hearing a little bit about your story, I feel like things that do happen to us earlier on in life kind of set a foundation and might have a ripple effect with our lives later on. Do you feel comfortable sharing what happened in high school?
When I was 17, I got my first job. I was working there. It was a restaurant in our small town. And I had been taken advantage of by my boss, who's twice my age, all the things. And it got really bad. He threatened if I had told anybody, if I tell anyone, he would take my life, he'd take everyone's life, my faith, all these things. My parents ended up finding out. Thankfully, I'm actually really glad they did. And we pressed charges and all of that stuff. And it was super scary. I was so terrified. We went and stayed at a different family member's house because I was so afraid he would show up and take all of our lives and stuff like that. He even showed me the gun he was going to use, if I ever told anyone. And actually, when the cops, we had to plan to meet up. I had to plan to meet up with him to like the cops to arrest him and stuff. And they said he had a gun in his truck and it had the bullets in it. And I was just like, that really put a lot into perspective for me. And so we pressed charges. He did get a sentence. I don't think it was as, I think he should have gotten a lot more time, but that was really hard. Even the court stuff was like so just like scary. It felt like my world was going to end, just like being in the courtroom and in front of a judge and the lawyer and in front of him. And that's when I was 18 by the time that all happened. But what happened with my boss was when I was 17, senior in high school, like going into my senior year, and it was all my senior year. So yeah, that's a huge part of my story. It sent me into like a really deep depression. I had PTSD. I had horrible anxiety. I was like on so many medications to just be able to like function and be able to try to go to school.
So having navigated something as traumatic as that at 17 and then 18 years old in the court, do you feel like that experience had an effect on your college goals and dreams?
I definitely was not able to like show up for my classes. I failed a lot because it was so hard to like get out of bed, which I used to be like, oh, it's not that hard to just like go to class, and then I was living through it and I'm like, okay, this is actually really hard to just like do the basic necessities. Yes. My parents actually did help me move away from the town that everything happened in. They were like, you just need to go. And my best friend at the time was living in Santa Barbara, which ironically
I love it. You're repping them today.
But yeah, that was not planned. But so I moved to Santa Barbara, and that really did help to just like get away from everything. I felt like I had like a fresh start in a way. But like the anxiety and the depression and like the nightmares I would have, that didn't go away. I was still able to go to school, but I failed a lot. School took a lot longer. It took me 7 years versus usually 4 to 5. You can get done in 4.
I feel like a victory lap the 5th year is very common these days. So
totally, yeah.
So you were going to school in Santa Barbara, and did you move back home, or how did that look college career wise?
So I kind of community college hopped for a while. The next year I'm like, oh, Santa Barbara's kind of like a really big party school. I wasn't really looking for that. So I moved to Orange County in California, and then I went there. I lived there for a year. It was so fun. I loved that. It helped to just stay down south during like the years of court stuff, and then my other roommate got into San Diego State, so I was like, let's go to San Diego. And then we went to San Diego. That's where I met my now husband. And that's kind of where the story of like my unplanned pregnancy started. And
let's dig into it. So you're there. How do you find out you're pregnant? What year are you at this point, or around how old are you?
I had just turned 22. I was a couple weeks into being 22. Still in college. I had just gotten into Sacramento State to finish my bachelor's degree. And I was like, something doesn't feel right. Like my husband came to visit, a couple weeks before that when I had first moved. And I'm like, I don't feel good. Like something is not right. And I had taken a pregnancy test because I'm like, maybe, I don't know. And it was negative. And I'm like, I do not feel right. Like my body was, it was really weird. I think it was like maybe a week or two later, I'm like, maybe I'll take another test. Like I was having really weird, like, body things going on, and I just didn't feel right. And I'm like, something is not right. I was going to the doctors, and they were like, maybe you're allergic to things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And they asked, like, is there any chance you could be pregnant? And I'm like, no, like, not, no.
Why,
And
why no? I'm so curious. Why were you thinking no?
well, how you make a baby, like,
Right.
that didn't really happen.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I mean, it obviously did, but like, you know what, I didn't know that, like, I don't know how to say this without like, like, um,
You didn't have traditional sex.
it was a half a second late
Gotcha.
to,
Yes,
so
to the pull and the pray method.
like, I don't know how to say this
Sure.
without like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you can't get pregnant off of that. Like,
Right. So he
there's no
didn't
way.
finish. So in your mind, you were like, no, there's just no way because y'all were taking precautions per se.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I'm like, there's just no way. And I had just gotten off birth control also.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, we're doing long distance, and it made me feel crazy. And I was
know,
just like,
the
I can't
hormones.
do this. Yeah. So I'm like, no. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I mean, I guess my husband did say, at the time he was my boyfriend, but I'm like, he did say it was like, oh, I might have accidentally. And I'm like, oh, well, you can't get pregnant off that.
Yeah, no worries.
And then, so I did take a test. I was babysitting in college. I was babysitting like our family friends' kids. That was my job. And I I was like, I have to take another test because something's not right. And I remember I took it, and right away it was like pregnant, 2 lines. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was shaking. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I called my husband within like an hour or two. I'm like, sorry, I can't make this like a cute thing. Like I'm pregnant and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I found out.
What was his, I mean, y'all were still long distance at the time, so you're having to do this over the phone. What was his initial reaction over the phone?
He was super sweet and like supportive. He just said, it's going to be okay. We'll figure it out. It's going to be fine. Like, babies are a blessing. He was very like positive about it. So I'm not sure actually like deep down what I have to ask him, like, what did you really think when I said that? Because you were probably freaking out too. Like, but I kind of never asked him because I didn't want to know, like, at the time.
Yeah.
So
if you're freaking out, keep it to yourself because I'm freaking out enough for the both of us right now.
yeah.
Absolutely. So now knowing that you have to tell, friends and family, how do you break the news to your parents? And are you scared to break the news, or do you feel like they'll be pretty supportive?
No, I was terrified. I think I would have went my entire pregnancy without telling them, like, if I could have.
Yep.
But my mom knew there was something going on with me. Like, she was going to the doctors with me because I was having like contractions at like a couple weeks pregnant. I don't know how to explain it, but like my whole body would tense up and it would last for like 30 seconds to a minute. And I was like, what is going, like, that's why I'm like, something is not right. And my second pregnancy, I didn't have that. So I don't know what that was, but I just told my mom like it's really weird. And she went to the hospital with me because my body was acting super weird. And so I went, I think maybe a couple days or a week without telling them because I was just like, I don't know how to tell them, especially because of what happened when I was 17. And I'm like, we're not married. And I just feel like I look like an idiot. Like like it's just another like thing that doesn't make me look good because I'm not doing it this wasn't the traditional way.
Right.
And my sister had just gotten married and I know they were like going to want to have a baby soon. So I did muster up the courage to tell them. I just said, Mom, I know why I wasn't feeling good the last couple weeks. And she was just like, what do you mean? And I was just like, and like, I was just like, I took a pregnancy test and, I'm pregnant. And yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't like it was the reaction I knew I was going to get, but hoping I wouldn't.
Right.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Which is so hard to navigate because, some women I interview, they create a narrative in their head about how their parents are going to react. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the complete opposite of how their parents react. And then others of us create that narrative, and how our parents react completely fit that narrative. And that was extremely hard point in me telling my parents as well, because I somewhat knew that they weren't going to be supportive, and to bridge that conversation knowing that I actually really might get cut off as a dependent now that I'm having my own child is terrifying, because you don't know how to survive on your own yet. You've lived under their covering for so long. Did you have to learn how to navigate how to make this decision on your own, and if it was to parent, how to be able to do this without their guidance or help?
Yeah, so when I told them I had just moved back in with them
Oh
and I
man, that's even harder.
yeah, to finish school, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna live with my parents so that I don't have to pay rent, all this stuff. And yeah, I was making like no money.
Yep.
I was babysitting twice a week. Like I was paying for like gas
Yes.
and like to eat a couple days a week, not at
Yes.
home. And so yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like if they are gonna like kick me out or something, like I don't know what to do. And meanwhile, my husband is 8 hours away in San Diego.
Wow.
And so it was like a whole thing for like probably a month of going back and forth of like, we can't support this or whatever. And then I had my in-laws who were like, if you need to come live with us, you can. They lived 5 hours away from me. So it was just
Wow.
like, and I was trying to choose, like, do I want to finish school? Like, suck it up. I don't figure something out. Maybe I could go live with my grandma, like, do something in order to keep this baby, finish school, but like be able to not be homeless and like still
Right.
live somewhere.
Right.
Um, and or do, do I have an abortion and like make my parents like do that to where it doesn't look bad and I could finish school and stuff like that. It was just a lot of like I did not know what to do for like a month. I'm like I don't know where I'm supposed to live. I don't know what, and they didn't kick me out, but they were just like, if you keep this baby, they didn't want to support that. So,
It's
because it
pressure.
looks bad.
It's the
Yeah.
pressure to keep the white picket fence family looking good from the outside. And as a mom now, I do understand that to a certain degree of wanting something better for your children and thinking that something like an unplanned pregnancy could derail their future. But as society keeps evolving, I think we see that women are very resilient. And if you want to stay in school when experiencing an unplanned pregnancy, it's going to be hard, but it's not impossible. And people eventually stop talking, right? These life decisions
Right.
that it's a decision that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life, no matter what you choose. Parenting, placing the child for adoption or abortion, all of those options is something you'll have to navigate for the rest of your life. But to choose something that you don't want to because of the fear of what other people will think, when they'll eventually forget that it's only spicy news for a hot second and then things
Yeah.
blow over. Do you feel like once you decided you wanted to keep and parent your child, things got a little bit better with your family?
Yes. Our relationship got better. I had the pressure of like getting an abortion. This isn't going to look good. We had like family meetings of like, you need to do this because there's just no way you're going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
survive. Like you're not going to be able to even afford a kid and all
Right.
this stuff. And I just said I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure it out. And then they got over it and
Yep.
they did become very accepting, and my mom threw me a baby shower,
Oh.
and yeah, so it did get better, but in the moment at the time it felt like my world was ending,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, I don't want to get rid of this baby.
Mm-hmm.
It came from a place of love,
Right.
and you know, I it doesn't feel right, but I get where my parents are coming from, and I also like I was scared of what everyone was going to think of me too.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, what did it feel like knowing that you wanted to stay in school, you wanted to get your degree, but that you would have to navigate that pregnant and with a baby? Did you feel any type of loneliness or just fear of what your future would look like?
Yeah, I did definitely I had like prenatal depression, I would
Okay.
say.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I mean, I looked around on my college campus, and I think I maybe saw one other person pregnant, like,
Right.
and so I just was like, oh, this is it was just like it was a lonely experience. I had one friend who was also having a baby,
Okay.
but she had already had a baby, like, so it wasn't kind of the first time thing, but um yeah, I was afraid. I'm like, how am I going to afford this kid? Seriously. Like
Mm,
I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I don't want to live off of like my parents' help forever. I don't want to be super dependent on them. So it was a lot, but I knew, like, I'm like, I have to graduate. Like I
mm-hmm.
have to just have that degree, because then hopefully I'll get a job after I graduate, and can put that to use. And
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, I somehow stuck through it. I still am like, I don't know how I did that.
I think a lot of times we don't
But
process it. I mean, truly, if this is the first time you've publicly talked through your story, a common thread that I find during these podcasts is we don't ever, because your little ones, they're still pretty little. We've never had an opportunity to like sit and think through all of those traumatic experiences, because you become a mom and it's off to the races. You have to put all of those emotions and everything that you experienced in a box, in a closet, and hopefully one day we can get back to it and process it. But you're in mama mode. So it doesn't shock me that you say, I don't know how I did it all, because you're almost in survival mode immediately.
yeah, and I felt like I was in survival mode when I got pregnant, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, I have to get through all of the, like, of what everyone's gonna think of me
Yep.
again. And then
Mm-hmm.
I had him, and I was still in college because I started and I had two
Yep.
years left, and
Right.
I got pregnant right as I had the 2 years left.
Yep.
So then I had him, and then I had another year of like being a new mom in school, trying to like make a little bit of money
Right.
to like, so yeah, I know I've never really like reflected on it, because I just had him, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, we just got to survive. So
Yes.
yeah.
Do you have any memories of what it was like after having him, while you were on campus, or any memories like that of what it was like?
Yeah, well, I remember the week I had him, I was doing online school, and I had emailed my teacher like, "Hi, I just had a baby. Is there any way like I can have just like a couple day extension
Right.
for whatever assignment was due?" And she was actually super helpful. My whole campus was it was very like mom friendly.
Love that.
Um, yeah, and I remember I would have to like in between classes, I'd be like sweating because I'd have to go to like there was like a mom's room where I could like go pump,
Oh, wow.
and I would go pump, and then like, campuses are just so big. I'd be
Huge.
like sweating just like walking to go to the pumping, then go to class, then like it
Wow.
just felt like I was in fight or flight mode, because
Yep.
I was like, I have to go to school, and I would just find like random family members, like trusted friends of family members, to watch him, because I'm just like, I need somebody to watch him so I could go to
Right.
school. Um, there was there was a daycare on our campus, but the wait list was super long, and that would have been really nice if I could have done
Yes.
that. But yeah, I had like a lot of friends of family help watch him
Okay.
during that time so I could get to class. Yeah. And I did a lot of assignments. I did use the TV. I used Blippy. He was like my
Yeah.
babysitter.
Yeah.
I'm like, just watch him while I like do my homework.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You do what you have to do to get those classes done. And what's really funny is when you get married and you have a child with a support system and you're in a career and you get time off, you're like, wait, all I have to do is be a mom for 6 weeks. I mean, when you compare it to the fight or flight mode that you're talking about, juggling a full load of classes with a baby. And at the time, where was your boyfriend, the father of the baby? Was he near, or where were y'all after you had your baby?
My boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
He did move. We actually moved into a house. My parents had owned this house and there were no renters in it. They kind of were like waiting for to find a renter, and they're like, "Well, we can rent this out to you guys if you want." Obviously we couldn't afford like the full rent, and it because renting is just in California
Oh,
like
I
nowhere
can't
is cheap.
imagine. I can't
So
imagine.
yeah, so they did help us, and they were very helpful. Like after the initial shock and everything,
Right.
they helped us a lot, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Um, but we rented that house, and my husband had moved in when I was like 7.5 months pregnant, maybe. Um, and then we're like, oh, we've never lived together before, so this is
This is
different.
new.
And we're okay, we're living together, we're having a baby. Like it was just a lot at once. He was he got a job with my grandpa doing decaling
Okay.
for like wrapping cars, and
Yeah.
he didn't care. He was just like, I just need a job to be able to like be
Right.
close. And then he did get a job. Now he is a officer at a prison, and
Awesome.
he got a job 15 minutes from our house. It was like totally
Perfect.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He started his academy when my son was 3 days old,
Oh my
I
goodness.
think.
So much
So,
change happening at once.
and then I also was in school. Yeah, I was in school. I really don't know how we lived through that. It was so much.
So
Yeah.
much. So, leading all the way up to graduation day, I love
Hmm.
talking through what graduation day feels like, because to our listeners who've never had an unplanned pregnancy and had to fight for their degree, graduation day is probably pretty cool for them, but for us, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say that it might mean more to me than my wedding day, a little bit, just because we had to go through so much to get to that point. So take me back to the day that you graduated and the emotions and feelings that you went through on that day.
Yeah, I remember like the whole time I was trying to not cry. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are gonna like, I can't. Like, they're gonna be like, why are you crying? Like, but I mean, obviously it meant a lot to me. Like, I fought for like 2 years
Yes.
through so much to be able to just get that like piece of paper.
Yes.
And yeah, I remember, like my son was there and my
Oh.
parents brought him, and it was so special.
Mm.
And then when I saw him after, I was like, don't cry, like don't cry.
Mm.
I didn't want to make like a big deal, but it was a big deal to me. I just didn't
Right.
want to like but yeah, I just was like, I really couldn't believe I did it, and I was like, something's gonna go wrong where I like fail a class and like I'm not gonna graduate. Like there's just I kept having all these doubts in my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really that is like probably my husband and I didn't have a wedding, but I would say like that's top three, like
Yes.
one of the most hardest and like special things that I've ever accomplished. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Looking back at your journey, do you feel like there was anything you would have done differently or thought patterns you would have corrected as you were navigating all of this?
I do wish I was like more confident with my choice. Like I remember I would like want to like hide my bump. I didn't want people to know for a long time. I was just like embarrassed. I wish I had just been more like, yeah, I'm having a baby. Like, I don't know. That was hard. I was also coaching. I just remember this. I was coaching volleyball
Right.
for young girls who were
Okay.
like 15 and you know, I felt like I had to hide that from them because I wasn't married and
Right.
it didn't look good to the parents maybe.
Yeah.
Um yeah, there was just a lot of things I that like people had said to me and I just brushed it off like, oh, whatever. But I wish I was just like more confident and firm in like my beliefs and why I chose what I did. Um, that's probably what I would say. Yeah.
Do you think, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself as you're panicking about having this unplanned pregnancy, what advice would you give to the younger you that can't quite see how beautiful this is going to end up unraveling and what your future looks like at the end of all of this?
Yeah, I would say at the time when I thought my world was ending, like it's all gonna be fine. And I would tell myself that like hopeful like it's gonna be fine. I think like it's gonna work out, but I wish I could just like have comforted me more and like
Mm,
um just seen more like light at the end of the tunnel
mhm.
versus just seeing like I just need to like get through this next day or like
Exactly.
yeah, so just more I wish I was a little bit more like hopeful, but it was hard.
Mhm.
Like everything was hard. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest pillars that this podcast stands on is to bring awareness and open conversation surrounding unplanned pregnancies, to give women the narrative, the platform to get their narrative back and speak their truth and talk about their experience, not only to be able to process it, but to give young women who are experiencing this hope that look at all of these stories. They all started with fear, they all started with doubt. But if you persevere and you continue and you chase after those dreams that you had prior to when you were pregnant, you can reach them. So, what are your hopes for the future when it comes to conversations surrounding unplanned pregnancies?
I would say just to give like I want everyone to know like it might not be how you thought your life was going to end up, but like either way it's how it was supposed to be and
Mm,
it's going to be okay. Like I wish I could tell everyone like it's going to be okay. And I'm sure a lot of people get told that, but it's not the end of the world and
mhm,
babies are a blessing
mhm.
always, like no matter what. And so like they get to hear about what we accomplished. My son is about the age where I could probably tell him a little bit of our story of like
Mhm.
what, you know, oh, I got pregnant in college. He doesn't know. He's 7 now. So, yeah, maybe one day we'll get to have that talk with him and just tell him like how much of a blessing he was and
Mm.
is. And babies are just, they're the biggest blessing, especially in like a dark time when you
Yeah.
think like your world's crumbling down and you don't know how you're going to get through it. But somehow it does always work out. So,
Absolutely. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and just sharing your story, your heart, and being so vulnerable with us. I really appreciate it.
yeah, I am so happy to, and I hope this can help just anyone who's in the time where I was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, to just give some light that it's all going to be okay.
Absolutely. And to all of our listeners, we hope to have you back for our next episode of Unplanned and Untold. Bye bye. Unplanned and Untold drops new episodes every other Wednesday. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review if you love this episode. I'm Caitlin Willing, and this is Unplanned and Untold.